Welcome to this week's episode of Inside Integration. My name is Chris. Over there is Jayson.
What's up, everybody?
And today we are going to talk about showrooms. Jayson is back with us after a lot of travel and a lot of remote shows. And if you didn't hear those, shame on you.
Oh wow, yeah,
Also, it,
some podcast gold there for sure.
it's that kind of day. But
Well, you got to be happy.
Jayson has seen his fill of showrooms lately. So yeah,
Yeah, it kind of started the conversation between you and I. Like, there's so many different ways that people are doing it, and in the old days, let's call it the old days. It was, I think, people taking those steps out of a retail space into a design center, or maybe the early attempts at what a design center was supposed to be, which really ended up being just, in a lot of cases, people setting up multiple living room vignettes
right, right.
in an office park somewhere, with oh, hey, this is our theater vignette. Well, it looks kind of like it looks like you're just putting different furniture
It's a different room
in
of IKEA.
exactly.
Now you're in the Svelgard,
Yeah, but
section.
and then I mean, again, in those days, I think a lot of that was also theater based, right? Because that was ultimately, I think, the bulk of what the industry was focused on
Sure.
in the early 2000s. But the showroom has certainly morphed these days. We've got people out there that have a retail hybrid model. We've got people that are doing uh, full just design consult only.
Yep.
We visited some guys in Spokane, Scott Foco and I. That I mean, these guys are a big deal, like multiple $1 million a year operation, and they have no showroom at all. So there's a delta out there, and it's all a rubric, I think, because it's hard to figure out exactly which way to go, depending on your individual opportunity.
Yeah, and agreed. And that's been my experience too, meeting with guys and stuff. There's definitely different strokes for different folks, and I think it's a lot of it is like market dependent, right? Like if you are, if you're in a market where you're doing a lot of tract homes and builder, multi whatever, it makes a lot of sense to have a place that you can have a meeting room in, where you can bring this builder can bring their clients to go over options and that kind of thing and be able to point out like this is what this looks like and this is what that looks like and here's this and to your point about it sort of started in the days of theater. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like you want people to experience that theater just overwhelming all of your senses in one in one nice
I,
big dopamine hit.
yeah, well, you're describing. Sorry, I'm just in my mind. I'm imagining what one of the showrooms I worked in was like, where it was like, and in this room we have a theater, and over here we have our main theater, and here we have our casual theater, and here's our conference room theater, and
Right.
here's our living room theater. There's a lot of
This is
theaters.
a media room, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's different than that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rear projection TV hidden behind some really cool veneers, JW theater furniture, whatever that stuff was back in the day.
Oh, those
Sorry,
days. Oh yeah.
small tangent there.
But and another reason was, yeah, obviously, you had less people who had experienced home theater at that point, so it made a lot more sense to pull those people in. But at the same time, those the places that I worked that had those kind of setups were, it was important a lot of times because you were getting your technicians into that sort of thing, right? Like you could run a guy through and say, "Hey, ISF this room and here's some practice." And like you can, dial this in. Let's try this. Let's do this different thing, and that kind of thing. And it was very much a lab as well, right? So it made a lot of sense where, you could kind of look at it and move your training budget a little bit into having this thing because that's what you were doing. You were helping to train your guys on something that they would only be able to experience in a client's home. And that's got a lot of value in it as well. Even these days, right? Like these showrooms. And I guess what we're getting at is we've gone from predominantly theaters to having a space where people can come in and they can see what linear lighting looks like on different finishes, what light fixtures look like, how are these shades going to look, and you could do different one of my favorite things to see is a dealer who's got a couple different shades, and each one of those shades has a different openness so that a client can stand there and say, yeah, 5% openness is great. I won't be able to see, the homeless guy using the bathroom outside of my house you
Where do
know,
you live?
in
Oh,
Southern
sorry, not.
California, sir.
Oh, sorry.
But,
I
you
thought you
know,
lived in a nice neighborhood.
I,
Wow, we should talk.
are you trying to say that homeless people don't make the neighborhood nice? Because you know,
I'm just saying, I wasn't expecting you to have that kind of vantage point from from your window.
well, it wouldn't be mine. I don't have a
Okay.
showroom, but you know,
Oh, fair
our
enough.
dealers. Yeah, hey, you got to cut costs somewhere, right? Maybe
You
you're in a
never
low rent
know.
part
Yeah,
of town. Sure.
that's true. Commercial real estate, although plentiful in Southern California, is not inexpensive.
Here's if you get one takeaway from this show, it's spend your budget on cameras, a good alarm system, and go where the rent is cheap, and you're set.
No, that's fair. I mean, I haven't seen. I haven't seen a lot of the dealer showrooms in Southern California in a while. You'd mentioned before, I've been on the road. I've been out here beating the band, uh, you know, a bunch of different vendor travel. But the performance oriented space that we were talking about, kind of reminds me of our trip here recently to Definitive. There's an example of a traditional integrator, a traditional, shall we say, luxury retailer. I'm not exactly sure how you classify them
Yeah,
over their entire history, but Definitive has been a lot of different things over the years, and in their space right now, they have the roll in and check out the supercar level audio
right.
systems in there and multiple rooms of it, right? So kind of maybe more kind of more of an obstacle maybe to some people's mind, right? Because you have a perception of it. You walk into a place like that, and nobody in here is going to want to talk to me because all I want to buy is X thing that costs Y dollars, right?
Right.
I'm scared of all of these really expensive things because if I broke them, I wouldn't be able to afford to replace them. There's all the lessons that my grandma taught me. Keep my hands in your pockets, kid.
Right.
Don't touch it.
You break it,
Don't
you
touch
bought it.
anything.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to break your fingers off if you touch that. But looking at what they built next door, however, is a shootout performance space where you can go in there and you can actually see, hey, I want to see this projector, Sony 6000 or Sony 7000, or soon to be, Bravia 8, Bravia 9 on this space. And they've got a director's choice screen from Stewart that has multiple aspect ratios available on it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
talk about, oh, hey, we're not trying to sell the sizzle in here as far as furniture or trim or decor. I mean, as you saw, it's got a drop ceiling in there. It's not set up for the ultimate audio experience
Right.
or luxury situation, but it's there to be educational. So when you mentioned the lab uh, type of setting, there's somebody that's doing that at the very highest level that I can, even think of, and certainly anywhere in our territory. I haven't been across all of the dealerships across the country, but I haven't heard too many that are doing it like that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Yeah, and there's, I mean, they're definitive obviously has a place in our heart, but like their model is pretty interesting because it's partially retail and partially, it's definitely not stepping into a Best Buy with just banks of things and everything else. It's definitely a more curated experience than that, but that is part of the minority, is that retail side of things where you can walk in and you got some old school people who walk in there and they are picking up a tube amp, or they're buying some Kimber cables, or they're doing whatever they need to do. And Kimber, I'm dating myself, it's probably more like Audio Quest now, but that's
No, that would be transparent or something
yes,
really
okay.
super, Nordost, something there that's like, I don't even know.
Right.
I can't pronounce whatever it says on the box over there. It looks like graffiti to me,
Right.
but that's pretty cool. Like, I should get those. Oh, those are how much? Excellent. I definitely need those.
Right. Exactly. And that works because they did. I mean, we saw it at the event that we were at. There were folks who just kind of rolled in and, hey, audiophiles, man, it's a very cool vibe, right? Like you
But,
can do your thing. Um, but I mean, I would say that probably the vast majority is invitation only. It's very much workspace with a show space that you can kind of bring people into and show them. The ones who I've seen do this really well, they build an entire story, right? So there's a script, and everybody who might actually like lead a tour through their space has this script committed to memory, and they know they greet the client at the front door. We walk down this hall, and here's here's some pictures of our installations, and this is the kind of work that we do, and this is how long it's probably pictures of the founder or whatever, and that kind of thing. Um, and the guys who do that, again, this all contributes to the why, right? Like, you need a good story to sell, to sell what we're selling. It needs to have a great story.
Here's where Colonel Sanders blended the 13 herbs and spices to come
Right.
up with the most amazing custom integration firm you've ever heard of. No,
Right.
I mean, I love all the different concepts. I think one of the fun things about this gig is getting out there to see how other people have, planted their flag uh, in the market. So, what you're calling, what you're describing actually calls to mind another integrator partner we have up here in the Pacific Northwest, Integrity Home Integration. So these guys approach it from a standpoint of they bought a home on kind of a quasi borderline uh, zone for commercial slash zone for residential type of street. So everybody that has to go into this neighborhood has to drive right past their place. But the home part of it, they converted completely into their office. So when you walk in the front door, you're greeted with a living room setting that just happens to have, the barista station, some beers on tap, some kombucha, all kinds of fun stuff, kind of more of the office type setting. But every one of the bedrooms, every one of the areas in the main part of the home is either a consultation area, what have you. Then you walk out into the backyard and they actually have design shacks that are set up. So they've got one that's set up strictly just for lighting with an experience lab, like you're talking about. Here's what this light is going to look like on a textured wall. Here's what color change looks like. Here's what your keypad options are. Here's what Black Nova looks like. When it's tied to Crestron, a lot of different options. And then, of course, on top of that, they layer in an outdoor audio space, a living space in the backyard where at the whole time you're on site there, you're in the pitch, right? You're just like, oh, this is related to my, like, like the whole time is the pitch. Like
Right.
that's the beauty of the investment on some of these things. So yeah, not to just be like, here's my here's all the people that I know and love and and I've visited, but the concepts
Here's
that we're
everybody
talking
who's
about here.
greased me a 20 on the
No,
list.
nobody's greased me anything. I mean, I just would say that these are the concepts that I find when I see what's out there, shall we say, that have been successful for a lot of people.
And I mean, typically, what do you see more than most? Do you see dedicated theaters in most locations? Because it seems like that's still a good enough reason, even on its own, to do this, right? Show the chairs, show the acoustic panels that you can do, and maybe some different options, and have a projector in there, and that kind of thing. Is that kind of still what
Yeah,
people are doing?
yeah. Well, and I think a lot of it too is our legacy guys. They made the investment maybe 25 years ago, and no offense, because you spend that money once, you don't want to spend it a bunch of times.
Sure.
This thing's got legs. We can zhuzh it up with some different lighting, put some different carpet, different furniture in there, what have you. So I think by and large, a lot of the guys that I see that have theaters in their spaces still have been there for a while. More of the newer guys, I will say less so. Theater is not as important. Theater's not as big of a pillar as it has been over the past. I've got guys that are a dedicated shade store, and that's where they lead into this. They start with us with shades. And oh, by the way, did you know that we do audio and lighting and TVs and stuff too? So there's a ton of different approaches here that I think are exciting, and keep it varied. Whether or not you're going to be successful with it, or whether or not that investment makes sense to you as an integrator, really comes down to who are you chasing. Do you host people, or are you doing all your work out there in the field with the builder? Does the builder need to come by and feel special because he went to your showroom and went to a game or a barbecue or something? Maybe that's the case, and by all means, you should cater to that. Go get that barbecue and make the investment in the big space, because I think having that investment out there shows like-minded clientele or well-heeled clientele that, hey, this guy's not just some dude in a truck or a van
Right.
that's going to show
Right.
up and throw six figures worth of gear or more into my home. I think that's another a point I wanted to make is a lot of times that
Right.
that investment in the showroom kind of is your chip to the bigger game.
Yeah, it's
You
a
know,
little bit of an anchor. Shows a little bit more stability. This guy isn't just fly by night. This is a dude who knows what he's doing. invested in a space, for sure that definitely raises your profile, a thousand
And
percent.
you can use your home, right? And as long as you can, keep the dog hair at a minimum. I mean, in my house, it's definitely not going to happen. I got a pug that basically is a fur factory. So just, there's going to be pug glitter in my showroom everywhere, for eternity. But in all seriousness, for the guys that are out there, if you're listening to this, does a showroom make sense, or where have you seen guys be successful? I think it's, again, those targeted experiences, like, hey, this is the core of our business. I'm the shade guy. And hey, let me lean in and, I can sell you this other stuff too.
Right.
Uh, I'm the high home, I'm the home theater guru. Probably makes sense to have a couple of home theater vignettes at different price points that,
Right.
you
Right.
might want to come in and check out. Or, you know what? I'm the hardcore CI guy with lighting. I mean, maybe there's a kitchen or a showroom space or something like that that I'm partnered in. My handiwork is showcased there, but
Yep.
on those thinner margins, or maybe even richer margins, but just it doesn't make sense to probably put in a theater.
Well, and
Go
and
hardcore.
and that's something important to remember, right? It's very much different strokes for different folks, right? Do the thing that works for you. I didn't when I had a firm, we didn't have a showroom. We had enough clients that were, super happy with our work and didn't mind us trotting other prospective clients through and, and showing this thing in situ, which I think that says a lot for you as well, right? If you're willing to, if you've got a great relationship with your clients and they are more than willing to help you get more work, that's a great angle as well, because, you're to be able to bring somebody in and automatically off the bat that person is thinking to themselves, well, okay, this was, this house maybe isn't my style, but this is the kind of technology I'm looking for, and these folks were, it's an unsaid recommendation, right? Like immediately this previous client vouched for, for you. So that's the, that seems like the best thing to do. But I mean, I've worked for, pretty large integration firms where, the place that we were at, we didn't have room for a showroom. Like we had a floor in an office building in Manhattan. There wasn't really a great spot. It didn't make sense, dollars per square foot to put in a full theater. And that's one of the most successful integrators in the whole country. So again, different strokes for different folks. You don't have to have a showroom, but it can definitely provide, that kind of leg up. If you have space and you want people to report to a space rather than report to your garage door with it open because they're up
Yeah.
on fire for the day, like, you
Yeah,
know,
the target of the next armed robbery in the
right,
neighborhood,
right.
because some local no good Nick figures out that this guy's got a couple hundred grand worth of boxes at any given time in his garage, and that wouldn't that be cool if me and all my buddies got new TVs,
Yeah. Hey, invest in cameras. This is how you
100%.
have to do it. Right.
Oh man, I may be telling that story because I have a story in time that relates to something similar to that. Luckily, it wasn't me or anybody that I was friends with, but that's not a situation that you want to be in. So maybe another reason to get out there and, like, hey, if I'm an integrator and I'm trying to make that next step, to your point, having a secure location that isn't at your house where your wife and kids sleep probably makes some sense from a
Yeah,
security
maybe
standpoint.
maybe a little bit, and there's there's also to kind of turn the page a little bit on this stuff. The manufacturers are more willing than you might think to help you get something like this stood up. Where if you walk in and talk to Sonance and say this is what I want to demonstrate, I really need a space that I can show a discrete opening system, or what a James SA, what a small aperture speaker can actually do in a space, because doing a demo with the box just isn't working. They'll help you. Like,
Right.
you know,
Well, yeah, through pricing and through positioning and design. Like, here's what I've got a soft lid, I've got a hard lid. Like, what can I execute in this space that I'm leasing for the next 3 years
sure.
to put in here and really sell the sizzle of what you're all about. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. And again, the manufacturers that we deal with have been nothing but accommodating. Everybody out there is pretty easy about it. And there's a lot of, for folks that don't want to do the showroom thing, there are a lot of other resources. Again, you might have a manufacturer facility that's near you, like the Sonance Experience Center is, you know, top of mind because it's right here. Um, but there's a lot of them out there. A lot of rep firms have that going on. I mean, CET and Associates, where we were outside of Denver, like their show space is great, but
Yeah, momentum too, right? Like
momentum as well. I mean,
with the
that's like the
924
gold,
space.
yeah, the gold standard these days. At momentum. But you know, they represent lines where they have video walls and that kind of thing, and that's another thing that you need to see. You need to be able to provide trainings to your dealers for that kind of thing. So sometimes it makes sense, but it's very much I feel like it's a good investment. It just off the top of my head, where you can do this kind of thing. The other angle we're hearing a lot is the Airbnb thing, where you've got dealers who are buying a piece of investment property. God bless you if you're in a position to do that, and then it's a write off for your business because it's your showroom and you're Airbnb in this thing. It's a pretty
Yeah,
dope way to
monetize
do
it.
it.
Yeah, no, for events or something like that. I mean, of course, people start to freak out and go, well, I mean, I wouldn't have this investment out there, put all these electronics and just let anybody have at her. I think that's pretty simple math. Will just be fair, to say, look, it wouldn't be just like a straight up vacation rental, but event space rental, party rental, where you were out there monetizing it and monitoring it, excuse me, is really more my point. Obviously, you want to monetize it, but uh, they're making sure that it's all working, making sure that the equipment's not being abused, making sure that the people that are there using your space are having a good time. And at the end of the night, when it's all said and done, you can shut it down and have a peace of mind. That's a great way to get a return back on that outlay of cash, and again, get your name out there. Now all of a sudden you've got designers and architects and stuff like that, or frankly, if it's a nicer home or a nicer piece of property, likely you're going to be dealing with a higher end level clientele looking to, hey, we need a home or we need a space to rent for our XY event, or we're going to do an Oscars party and we can't have it at Julie's house because, the dogs are sick, or whatever the rationale is. Like, I love that. I love that idea, for people that are, out there. Does it make sense? I think we've come to an accord, shall we say,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
if your business model or the clients that you're chasing need to see it, or you need to prove that you're a legit entity, a showroom space is a great way to do it. And I think I might have just had a Yeti
I was
out on my back
I
porch.
was gonna say some Sasquatch just kind of rolled.
So
Whoa,
yeah,
what's going on there?
check out the video portion of this podcast to see the latest sighting.
The
I
the
do
the
live in the
weird
forest.
the weirdness of the Pacific Northwest, right in your living room. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's how we get down over here. That's how we get down.
Yeah, definitely. And we would definitely love to hear your thoughts in the audience on this kind of thing. A lot of people have very, very strong opinions
Oh
of,
my God, do they ever? What a waste of money. And other
oh, I
guys are
can't
like,
believe that guy did that.
yeah, well, how could you spend that much money on a thing? And then other people are like, I would have never gotten XY job if I didn't have,
Propelled
you
me to
know,
the next level.
oh,
Hear that all the
right.
time.
So, but and there's always those outliers, right? You've always got the super successful firms that are like, yeah, I'm just the man here. I live humbly, but I do,
Right.
X million dollars a year. Okay, you're in Sun Valley, Idaho, or Big Sky, Montana. Like those are some of the only markets like that where, it's just these guys that are like, yeah, I do 4 projects a year, but they're for,
Right.
some celebrity, so, or money guy, or what have you. So, um, I think we can agree. You should get a showroom. I think it's going to elevate your game. I think you should spend all the money on a fantastic showroom. Deck it out with the products and the solutions that you want to capitalize
Yeah.
on and,
And
and
then
demonstrate.
invite us there and let us document your
Absolutely. There's a great
the beginning
segue.
to end.
We want to promote you. We want to make some content about you. You made this huge investment and you want to show it off. Reach out to us. Let's talk about what we can do to make some content for you. Let's talk about what we can do to put you on the map. through our social media veins, and then certainly take that content and use your own vehicle and your own contacts to promote yourself. That's really what it's all about.
That's it. That's it. And it's, I mean, it's always it's funny too, because there's definitely a template for the showroom, right? But like everybody has their own spin on it. Everybody, some people have fully stock bar. Somebody pivot more into like, hey man, I had the best espresso I've ever had in my life at XYZ's showroom, right? Like there's definitely little niches and stuff, and it's cool how it takes on the personality of the
Yeah.
company, right? Like it kind of contributes to that
Get a
why.
hi-fi guru. Yeah, get a hi-fi guru that's really good at like making coffee, like
Yeah,
roasting their own beans, knows a
totally.
bunch about music. Then you got to get like the video file home theater guy in there to really, you know, blow some people's minds and talk about movie content. And then those two guys are buddies, but they kind of fight sometimes. I don't know. It's a script that writes itself. But or maybe I'm giving away the plot to my screenplay. But regardless of
Right.
that,
Right.
I know. I think it's a great way to just put your flag in the sand and make sure that everybody knows that you're out there. Adds legitimacy. Again, I think it's the real thing.
Yep. Totally agree. What else do you want to hit while we're still chugging through here? Anything in the news you want to
Man, like we've wrapped up Cedia. We're in the throes of
just wrap the
uh
quarter, right? So like that big
wrap the
sprint
quarter.
to the end is
Yeah,
whoop,
exactly. So now,
we all live another day. That 30-day contract renewed, and we all
October
still have
1st,
jobs.
October 1st, what have you done for me lately? Thank you
Yep,
so much
there you
on
go.
September 30th for all your hard work.
Well, we're
Uh,
still we're it's still September 30th, so that
oh
email from
man,
KT has not come
man,
out yet.
no, my arm is really sore from patting myself on the back for doing that. But yeah, I mean, again, me personally, you mentioned before, I've been traveling a bunch. We've been in market, been back out to see our guys at Gradient with Soniance. So they're one of our new partners out there at Gradient Solutions now, not Gradient Electric anymore.
Smart, smart.
So
Cast a wider net, baby.
rebranding there. So the guys out there stopped in and see our pal Kathy over at Quicksilver.
Oh yeah,
So there's your Delta where you've got a solution based company that's working out of their garage, working out of their home office, working out of their their work trailer, what have you, versus traditional established retailer in town that's been there since the 70s. She told me like 1978.
yeah.
I was like, I was five. Like, and I'm old, so pretty cool
I was,
to
and yeah, then I was something to be avoided.
yeah, you were a zygote or
Right.
whatever, right?
Not
You were a twinkle in your daddy's eye or something,
I
as they
was I
say.
was a life ruining thought at that moment.
Yeah. It was game over, pal.
Right.
That's who you were, right? So got a chance to see that, and then Scott and I went up to Scott Foco and I went up to Spokane. Got to see some of the stuff again. Got an update on what's going on with the Y Appliance guys. So their showroom has continued to evolve
Love those
and
guys.
grow.
Cool
My
stuff.
gosh, it's what a great. I mean, their space is just getting more and more decked out. So the tentacles of the Y Appliance octopus are stretching into more markets, into more areas, and even met with our guys at Aspen and Premier. So I mean, these guys are great dudes. Again, kind of quiet success stories, shall we say, out there. So
I mean,
just
that's
keep on trucking.
the Y Pliant showroom strategy is actually a pretty good one. That's where, because you don't need any room for shirts in your thing, you can put more things into your showroom. I'm just kidding.
Well,
I love you, buddy.
if you got it, you should rock it. That's all I'll say.
Absolutely.
If I had my act together, maybe I'd be a little more shirtless. But I'm
Ah,
gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it 55th Street, as they say out there, and keep it legit. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun to get out and see all the people. We're getting ready to do our Josh AI sessions
yeah, man,
here
that's
tomorrow
tomorrow.
on and Portland on Thursday. So really looking forward to getting everybody out there. So by the time people hear this, if you're in the Seattle market and you're like, yeah, I'd like to attend that, you might have missed it, but if you are down in the Portland Beaverton market, come over to the Mountain West branch over there off of Nimbus Avenue, and you'll be able to pop in the room, meet Bridget, hang out, get certified on Josh, be able to sell Josh, be able to program Josh by the
Yep.
time you leave there, ready to place those opening
Yeah,
orders and get that
I mean,
stuff done.
it's a good day. They always, they always bring good food. They always, do good stuff. But what's nice about it is that it is single day certification, right? So
Yeah.
send your technicians in, send 4 of them in, get them all certified, ready to go, able to get
And then you
support.
can,
Have a nice day,
yeah, make that make that decision. Am I going with, brand, blah, 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 control system, wand, remote situation, or am I gonna maybe try to move the ball down the field here and learn something new and adapt to probably a new trend that we're gonna see continue to grow in the CI space? And I think you should go with the latter. My personal opinion on
Personal
that.
opinion, right?
And then lastly, we've got the upcoming Lucetta of Top Golf events that we wanted to promote.
Yeah.
So if you want to entertain your team, you want to come out and learn more about linear lighting, you want to come out and eat some nachos with me and Chris, you want to swing a golf club in front of a bunch of
Come
your
on out, hit some
competitors
balls.
slash compatriots, show them how good slash bad you are. Maybe you've got the amazing long game and you can smash it out of the back of Top Golf, or you can barely get it over the line. Um, Lucetta's going to pay for the event. So this is a great way to get out with the team, get out with some of your design partners,
Yep.
get out with, get out for yourself and learn more about linear lighting. Come to the event and be a part of it. It's free.
Yep.
You gotta sit through a very entertaining Cameron guy's like a ball of fire. So like the training part of it's gonna go by so fast because you're gonna be like absolutely engaged, and he's gonna show you a zillion different things that are really exciting. And then to wrap it all up, you get to hang out with Zeebs,
It's
get to
true.
get some Zeeb stories.
I mean, the Zeebs part of things, the training is great, the golf is great, but the Zeebs part
That's
is
really what sells it, frankly.
that
So
that might be we are I mean, I don't mind sharing this, but we are seriously considering I'm trying to find like 4 more hours in each day. So once we get to that 28-hour day,
perfect.
we want to stand up a sales stories podcast and kind of get some of these things, because man, that guy has the best stories I think I've ever
Wow.
heard.
Our dinner at Cedia, I
Oh,
wasn't expecting a show, but it was amazing. Like it was fantastic. So again, we're talking about our good friend Keith Zieber at Lucetta Diode Elemental LED. Class act, great guy. So fun to spend time with and do business with people that are great people to be around and hang out with. So again, I encourage you guys to come out and see what the Zeeb stories are all about. The legend will continue, and we're going to continue to build it. So, through word of mouth and through your own experiences, just like a sighting of the Yeti,
right.
come out and get some of the Zeeb's magic and find out what the Lucetta program and what the diode LED situation is all about. All kidding aside, they're a great organization with fantastic products, and I think very relevant to what we're doing in the CI space these days.
Yeah,
So
we
come
like
out and
those
check it
guys,
out.
and they we big reason we like them is because they like to have fun with this stuff, and that's kind of what it's all about, right? Making money and have fun.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, blowing some people's minds, having some, safety, having some design consultations, having just conversations about, hey, wouldn't this be cool if we could light this up, or wouldn't that add like a different dimension to your home without paint,
heck
without
yeah,
without a new addition on it, without what have you, right? Like just some really simple things that you can execute for your customers or even for yourselves that put you out there. All of a sudden, you're in the lighting business. It's pretty cool.
absolutely. So I think with that, we can wrap this up and let people get on with their day. For Chris, that's Jason, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody. Bye bye.